Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy perhaps breathing a slight sigh of relief tonight. His military announcing it has killed a team of Chechen assassins that were sent to kill him. And it comes a day after one badass Ukrainian soldier warned those Chechens that after they found them, they would play soccer with their heads. God, I love Eastern European insults. So is the Ukraine army ready for the World Cup? Here with me now, former CIA officer and CEO of Portman Square Group, Mike Baker. Baker, is this true, or is it just a piece of delicious propaganda that everyone wants to believe so no one will actually vet?
Well, no, it is true that Chechens are in the battle now, courtesy of the head of the Chechen Republic, a guy named Kadyrov, who's a really nasty piece of work.
Yes, I read that you referred to him as a world-class douchebag.
Yes, and that's
well done, Baker.
When you're talking about the people in Putin's orbit, and Kadyrov's a world-class douchebag, then that's saying a lot right there. But so Kadyrov is as big a stooge for Putin as Lukashenko in Belarus.
Oh, God, that guy. Don't get me started on that guy.
The Kremlin has wanted Chechnya to contribute soldiers to the effort. They've come in through Belarus as well, and it's no surprise they show up. The Chechen fighters show up wherever there tends to be chaos fomented by the Kremlin. So whether you're talking about Syria,
so they're like the Paul
Libya,
brothers of global conflict. Like they'll just show up and threaten to fight anybody.
Yeah, and they carry this reputation as fierce fighters. But I take that with a grain of salt, right? It always depends on who they're fighting. And I think the Ukrainian military is proving, as we all know at this point, to be tougher than probably either Kadyrov or certainly Putin estimated. But it's no surprise to see them in the battle space at the Kremlin's behest.
So we're hearing about this Africa-based mercenary group. Is it the Wagner Group or the Wagner Group? And, again, Prigozhin, one of Putin's cronies, is an oligarch who funds this mercenary group, who clearly controlled by the Kremlin. How long have they been in Ukraine, and how difficult or easy will it be for them to ultimately find Zelenskyy?
Yeah, this is the Wagner Group. I'd go with Wagner as opposed to Wagner, so that
Wagner,
we don't get mixed
up.
That's
so pretentious.
Yeah, exactly. It is pretentious. But the Wagner Group they've been around for years. Look, they showed up in Crimea in 2014. They're masquerading as a private security contracting group, right? But they are funded by the Kremlin. Their backstop, their loose backstop cover is that they're funded by this oligarch you just mentioned, the guy named Prigozhin, who's close to Putin. But Prigozhin gets paid by the Kremlin to do this. So, all that money's just sloshing around back and forth and ends up in Putin and Prigozhin's pockets. But the Wagner Group, again, much like the Chechen fighters, they're very useful to the Kremlin in a sense because it provides plausible deniability in these conflict areas. And Wagner Group has shown up, again, in Crimea. They've been in Donbass for some time now, for years, in Syria, in Mali, in Venezuela even, where they're there to help protect Maduro. So, they went into Ukraine. Imagine this. Putin has this in his head. He's spending months amassing troops on the border, right? He's preparing the ground. One of the things that he did was put Wagner operatives into the Ukraine, into a variety of places, Mariupol and Kharkiv and elsewhere, Kyiv, obviously, to do a variety of things, to conduct surveillance on military facilities, defenses, to gather intelligence on government officials and movements, to basically prep the battle space and provide that intelligence and assess how best to support the Kremlin. So yes, the fact that Zelenskyy and others in the Ukrainian government are on a hit list, and the Wagner Group is responsible for that hit list, again, much like Chechen fighters, no surprise.
Yeah, it's like Benny Hill meets Killing Eve. You know, they're taking down street signs. They're trying to confuse them. They haven't found Zelenskyy yet. Hopefully they won't. There's a hard curfew so they can comb the streets for these operatives. You can't make this stuff up because no one would believe you. But it's all happening right now, and hopefully we don't get pulled into it. Mike Baker, thank you so much.
Yeah. You know what? And I just hope that President Biden in his speech tonight uses that Benny Hill Killing Eve analogy, that mashup, because that's special. I haven't heard that one before.
Well, that's why we keep having you back, because you inspire wonderful things in all the people. Mike Baker, well done.